You're live.
Hi, everybody. We're going to start. Can you finish your conversations? Hi, there's some people here that I haven't seen before. I'm so happy you're here. I'm Matthias Wegener. I teach in the creative writing program here at CalArts. And I'm here to introduce Jackie Wang, who's our, let's hear it. Come on. Who's someone that I've wanted to bring here for a long time. So Jackie is in town kind of this week to celebrate the publication of a book that's called, the subtitle is an Almanac of Extreme Girlhood, and the title is Alien Daughters
Walk into the Sun.
Walk into the Sun. Which is a collection of earlier work. It's a beautiful book. We talked about it earlier in class, and I don't know if Jackie's probably gonna read from two things at least that I see in her hand. To introduce Jackie, I think Jackie in my life really appeared and became most famous for her book Carceral Capitalism. And which is a kind of activist, polemical text on the prison industrial system, and kind of reframed it in a way that was very needed and really took root very quickly. And that was sort of around the concept of carceral capitalism, right? A system of capital, right, and the capital accumulation based around prisons and incarceration, and also involving debt, right, the creating a debtor class, involving neoliberal policing and the kind of way that our cities and towns are now funded through the prison system. That book takes a kind of, as if it weren't enough, that book at the end takes this remarkable turn, and the last chapter is poetry. It becomes lyrical, right? It cites other poets. It moves away from argumentation, right, and evidentiary-based polemical argument to a whole other register, a kind of a device that could easily fail, and here it takes the whole thing to another place. And I think it's Jackie's years of poetic practice that form that feed into that, right? The sort of melding, the meeting place of what I would call a political practice, right, of political thought, and a lyrical practice, right? And the lyric is so often associated with the personal, the internalized, right, the ephemeral, and to concretize the lyric, right, into an absolutely urgent political moment that is here with us now and doesn't look to be leaving, really is a gesture of genius. And it kind of, most specifically to carceral capitalism, it charts a path between Afrofuturism and Afropessimism, right? It is kind of neither of those things. It creates another way, which also relates in queer theory to kinds of concepts or modalities of queer futurity and the antisocial turn in queer theory, right? Which parallel what's happening in African American studies. So what else? I'm so happy to have Jackie. Oh, I know what I wanted to tell. So Jackie, one of the people in our audience was Jackie's student, Zoe, and when she was coming, told Joey never to apply to an MFA program.
Did I say that?
You did say that.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh, I said that?
Yeah, but we know now why, because Jackie had an experience which is touched upon in this book with the MFA program from hell. Welcome.
Thank you. Wow, I said that.
It wasn't that intense.
Never.
I was like, should I do an
Burn your application.
Burn all your applications.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me here today. My second time at CalArts. The last time I was here was soon after reading Carceral Capitalism. I might have read in this room. I'm having spatial deja vu. So it's so wonderful to be back. I'm staying in a trailer behind the Museum of Jurassic Technology. And yeah, I love this place. And I know they have a lot of CalArts people who work there. So I got a text from David Wilson that said, regards to the CalArtsians? CalArtians?
Yeah.
Is it Shins?
Calartians.
CalArtians. Regards to the CalArtians. So I'm going to read, I think, a little bit from The Sunflower Cast a Spell to Save Us from the Void and my new book, Alien Daughters Walk into the Sun. And I was just flipping through my poetry collection, which came out during the pandemic. So it was a book that I only did one online event for promoting this book because it was during the pandemic. So I just put it out into the world and I had no idea if anyone knew it was out there or read the book. And then it ended up being a National Book Award finalist, which was the most surprising thing of all time. I woke up to a text from my advisor that was like, congratulations. I'm like, what is she talking about? So this first poem is a poem that I don't think I've ever read before, but my dinner conversation tonight made me think of it because we were talking about Bataille over dinner, and I was just flipping through this book. I was like, actually, I have a few Bataille references in here. I was saying how I downloaded Story of the Eye when I was a teenager on Napster because there were some PDFs on Napster. So this poem is titled My Dream Ate My Homework. Another dream of being loved by Kant. Did he put his face against mine? I was giving a presentation on Bataille with Dee and one other girl. My copy of the Bataille book was all cut up. Dee's was intact. He was a more careful reader than I was. We showed up over an hour late, at 5 instead of 4, and Kant said, "You never did your Bataille presentation." But we were there to do it, even though the semester was technically over. We had prepared a dance routine. I didn't remember the moves and was trying to follow along by watching the others, but my gestures were delayed. I was always lagging behind, throwing off the synchronization. Dee sounded like a mumbling fool. How could he be so young and balding? Nobody had any idea what he was talking about. When Dee finished rambling, I jumped in to save us. I said, Bataille was a proto-surrealist who became a surrealist but was expelled from the movement by Breton, the Pope of Surrealism, referred to as such because he was quick to excommunicate people from his inner circle. As I spoke, people fell under my spell. I was like Simone Weil in Blue of Noon. Kant was impressed, but also nervous because he didn't know who Bataille was and was afraid I would think he was stupid. He asked me questions about Bataille's work, and I tried to explain Story of the Eye, but strained to convey how weird it was. Little kids, an eye that is an egg that is also a bull's ball. The egg is erotic, like in the Bjork music video, Venus as a Boy. not exactly safe for children. And that was actually a reference to an Amazon review that I saw on Story of the Eye, where I think someone thought, since it was like two kids, that it was like a children's story. And they're like, this book is not safe for children. After the presentation, Kant put his face against mine while the people around us partied Gatsby style to celebrate the end of the semester. There's a lot of Kant dreams. It's a pseudonym for someone who you will never find out who it was. Okay, let's see here. I will also read Death as a Survival Technique. The world is warming and we humans are to blame. In the future, the world will only hold one person. Therefore, therefore, we will have to sneeze. In the future, the world will only hold one person. Therefore, everyone else must die. It is for this reason that I find myself in a Hunger Games caused by global warming. Everyone knows there can only be one survivor. The people are febrile with murderous rage. Though I do not intend to kill anyone, I still must persuade everyone not to kill me. I have to get them to empathize with me, but I don't plead. Sometimes I hide by lying prone atop a pole, pretending to be dead. By making myself visible, I remove the anxiety of being found. My fake death becomes an orchestration that involves as many people as Tupac's pseudo-death. In the distance, I hear Maxine eulogize me. He knows I'm not dead, but to stop people from killing me, he must convince them I've died. Feigning death makes me privy to how I will be remembered. I think, how sad that people are not alive to experience their funerals because it's the most love they'll ever get. Maxine memorializes people in a way that only a queer who has lived through the AIDS crisis can. But I'm alive. The threat of death calms me. On the shore, there is a crumbling beach house, cold from the iconography of eternal sunshine of the spotless mind. Everything is crumbling as we wait for intermittent waves to hit. Where in this house will I find air to breathe? The walls won't hold. The safety I feel in this structure is false. I am crouched in a corner waiting to die until Elijah comes and asks me to participate in a fashion show to, quote, lighten the apocalyptic mood. Elijah takes me to a warehouse, dresses me in skimpy clothes, and pushes me onto the stage. Ashamed of my body, I try to cover myself with my hands and arms. From the audience, he yells, "Show more belly!" And then to celebrate my performance, he takes me into an empty, crumbling house to play me a song on the piano while the house fills with water. Imminent apocalyptic obliteration has brought out everyone's repressed desires. All over the shore, people are having BDSM sex in the ruins. Where did all these leather belts come from? I think. I see my friend all tied up, blissed out, her eyes rolling back in her head. It is a way to prepare for death. The sadists believe they will be the ones who will survive. The masochists embrace their powerlessness in the situation. Freakish weather makes us all non-sovereign. In this sense, the sadists will be punished for their hubris, their belief that through sheer muscular will, they can beat Mother Nature. The story becomes an epic showdown between sadists and masochists. But I know that the situation calls for total passivity. Maybe that doesn't make sense. Maybe it's a pact with the gods. The secret is to not try. In giving yourself over to the inevitability of death, nothing can hurt you. Nature no longer wants to kill you. You have put yourself at the center of the battle of cosmic forces and lowered your sword. Because you are willing to die, you will be spared. But, I'm sad that all my friends will die, even if this situation has turned them against me. Why must only one survive this environmental catastrophe? To submit, to take the passive road to heaven. Survival of the fittest? No. Survival of the best at playing dead. I'm trying to think, do I want to do more? Okay. 89. Do a little bit more from the Sunflower book. Waiting for girdle. First of all, nobody will survive money. Of course I understand this poem, and by that I mean I understand what it means to be a disappeared writer who wakes to tinnitus, like all my life is this morning tinnitus, because the soundtrack to my life is exhaustion. Whereas those subalpine, I mean those sibylline, those sumptuous buttes of the celestial order have got a kinder oral factory, atmosphere, symphony factory to make the day leap with a plangent start. A dream comes to me and I am in a classroom being tested. No one is present to administer the test. I must be here to test myself. We know how that will go. What makes this dream interesting is that I'm waiting for someone I do not know, i.e. a stranger, and then I'm outside in the desert and it's cold, it's a vacant rodeo, and I'm still waiting. Approach already. Who said, is this woman of color ontology, this waiting? Debbie knows and loves the poem of waiting and all great poems of waiting. Tennyson's Come Into the Garden, Maud, which may or may not be a poem of waiting, though we did have to wait to look it up on the computer. Between remembrance and reenactment, there is waiting. But I truly believe we're not waiting to become our better selves, that we're already so great as it is. We are aureoled beings doing our being thing. It's not easy being alive. This I know. But sometimes the moon is such that you just kind of slide into the glory hole that is your life, the brave, freewheeling musicality of existence. So I'll read a little bit from my new book, Alien Daughters Walk into the Sun, an almanac of extreme girlhood. And this is a book that I actually wanted to publish before Carceral Capitalism, but Chris Kraus, my publisher at Semiotext, who is very business savvy, was like, you need to publish Carceral Capitalism first, because I was like, well, I'm just sitting on all this material. So I ended up doing Carceral Capitalism first, and I think it was actually a really good idea. So thank you, Chris Kraus. So this book basically collects a lot of writing that I did throughout my 20s. And I don't know, it's like a mix of literary criticism, autobiography, theory, even a little bit of poetry tossed in there. And I was saying, at the event that I did at 2220 Arts and Archives that I snuck in poetry because Semiotext usually doesn't publish poetry. But I'm also going to read this poem. I think there's only, was anyone here at the, yeah, so there's one person, two people. Okay, so you will get the pool poem for a second time. This is I Found My Soul at the Bottom of the Pool. Part 1. I found my soul there. I found it at the bottom of the pool. She saw, no I saw, no she saw, no I saw. I saw my soul vibrating at the bottom of the pool. I saw my soul just out of reach. I saw my soul go for a swim. I found my soul in rainbow diving sticks at the bottom of the pool. I found the years I lost to sleep at the bottom of the pool. I found my mother's womb at the bottom of the pool. I found my mother's watch at the bottom of the pool. I found my focus in chlorinated water. I found a feast spread out on a dining room table at the bottom of the pool. I found 2 cups of coffee and waking up at 6 a.m. at the bottom of the pool. I found the world at the bottom of the pool. There's water at the bottom of the pool. There is a comfortable bed at the bottom of the pool. I found the continuity of dust and mommy at the bottom of the pool. I found my manuscript at the bottom of the pool. I found centuries of strangled mirrors at the bottom of the pool. I found the first day of my mother's fall from grace at the bottom of the pool. I found unnameable deities at the bottom of the pool. I found particles of my past repeating themselves at the bottom of the pool. I found Nietzsche at the bottom of the pool. I found directions on how to say no to your tongue and walk away at the bottom of the pool. I found the reason why it is so easy to forgive everyone except myself at the bottom of the pool. I found the mystery of gravity at the bottom of the pool. I found myself untamed and inside the feeling at the bottom of the pool. At the bottom of the pool, there is a basket of lone berries. At the bottom of the pool is the spreading out and becoming full of the pool. The pool is tautological. The pool is at the bottom of the pool. The pool is a hum that settles blood and everything terrible. At the bottom of the pool, there's the choice to get mad or just be a silent witness. At the bottom of the pool, there's a house that can't get rid of the stench of animals. At the bottom of the pool, there's a body that inhabits itself without the fear of being common. At the bottom of the pool, there's a rocking chair and an old woman in it waiting for her friend to return. At the bottom of the pool, there is a way back to the fever pitch of receiving your letter. At the bottom of the pool, there's a way back to the joy of writing and the discovery of eyes you never knew were hiding beneath your hair. At the bottom of the pool, there's an eye opening for the first time, a furry creature prodding its babe alive. I am creaturing at the bottom of the pool. At the bottom of the pool, there is a cocktail of all the best drugs. At the bottom of the pool, there is here. At the bottom of the pool, there's a way to be here. At the bottom of the pool, there's a toilet, and the toilet is a portal to heaven. Part 2. The Haymarket Oracle whips her hair to the beat of the bleeding toes. We are as we should be, she says, even after swaths of our inner topographies are swept away by the flood. Be quiet and admire the way other people strain to exist. Let there be nothing inside your head except the image of women walking into the sun. You're looking for a fancy way to shoulder the night while knowing nothing of the night you wish to speak. The way the undertones chime like the voice of a distressed woman on the phone. The woman on the phone says the red dress crumpled and limp on the wet street is what it means to suffer as a daughter suffers, 14 hours a day. Her phone is not plugged in. And on she goes about how she would like to crawl into the dress and sleep and sleep and sleep for a fierce arrival tomorrow. I am a blackberry covered in spider webs, she says, but all you take away is a passing impression of being caught. I am a shrill bride anxiously anticipating the moment of negation, which is also the moment of being made into someone normal enough to be a lawyer. What do you know of the way lawful people count the days left to have a baby? Or the way people devote themselves to being vegan or a poet because they're not normal enough to be a lawyer? Let them laugh a little because they are sick and need to feel unrestrained. The sun is rising over the hill, and there's no question about it. You've reserved your tenderness for the wrong people, for the people who deserve it least. Oh, Haymarket Oracle, will you be a reason for me to take note of where I am? He'll never love the crack in the way the world flows out of it, as blood spurts from the mouth of the one who is a little too excited after having spoken to God. A word vibrating in the body is a way to know God, a coin glowing at the center of a damp street, or the way you knew at the end of the night that the truth of God was to be simple and kind to yourself. The gift of the word has been given to women who are not afraid of the rapture of turning themselves inside out. You weren't afraid of dying, but only of being ejected from your life while alive. Don't let yourself not be in your life. Let there be nights spent at your desk, howling ecstatic, howling, oh Haymarket Oracle of pithy mystery, oh trains, oh how many people carry the hideous metro rag, oh spectacles of bodily disfiguration, oh nose grown on the forehead of the one who weeps for a new face. When the body is undone, some words are released. Inauguration of a state whose book grows cosmic in scope. In a cup that says, relax, there is the juice of life. I'll be near God. From now on, the pieces of this world will spring luminous into this vision, the way Karl Marx's words sprung luminous into the mind of the drugged-out Jewish boy reading in the library. You'll know yourself, not afraid and so confused, you know everything finally, which is to say nothing at all. There was always a Bible in the silence of the room. Pursue that state until it becomes dream and you are a young man on your way to study abroad, top hat and valise, eyes huge with money. What the desert did to your dreams. What the desert did to you. Never had you felt more true to the state of waiting, buried alive. When I look in the mirror now, I think, the desert aged me. I feel this haunt in my neck bone, where I carry everything left behind. I said dimension. I want to know life in all its dimensions. Come down and see me. Witness my slaughter. O world felt in a gilded instant. When we step out of unhappy rooms, into the sun, we are shredded into our sons. Tell him we will become what we never thought we'd have the courage to become. Tell him the sky is waking up to the finitude of tomorrow's coming, and we are to receive the memory of our childhood bedrooms. I remember the room, the way it bent down to meet me in my sorrow, and how many nights spent in bed drowning because I don't know where my head is. I don't know where I am. There are two ways of drowning in fire, and I am the way of blood. I am the tiredness of this room, its low lighting, the way I bent down to meet the room in its sadness. You are the hypocrisy of light when your soul is dark. the sanguine countenance that betrays your inner disorder. Together we dreamed of drifting down the river, and because it is a day, we are this miracle of day, the way we kneel and beg the day to shine its mercy on us. I was drawn to what I believed was his self-possession, and I used this to punish myself, because I will never be a man. I'll return to the Caspian Sea with a book on how to begin. Out of this, we are born. We are born on the train, watching the morning spread out across the earth. I like the way the frumpy girl wears her headphones and never takes off her jacket. I like everyone and everything. I like you. I like my life, my whacked out way of being. But I can't say for how long. And when I didn't care about being smart, it was easy to just, kind of be a person. And there was the love I wanted to be. And I had a mission on how to be. Did my emotions go flat? No, there was the desert, but I think that was more sad than euphoric. But there was psychic. Yes, I am losing my psychic powers because I don't remember the dream. And the dream has nothing to say to me when I am not bending down to meet the dream in the creek. What there was, profound appreciation, like crying because the world wakes, even though you are never ready to be in it. Or how the ocean makes an infant of you, or the moon becomes, I appreciate your big hands because of the way they remind me of the moon, remind me of a pale heart, remind me of the Butt and Butt magazine, remind me of the cheeks of my father or a passing cloud. Soon it will be cold. There are too many directions inside you. Finish your books. Be an amorous dolphin. Remember the way everything fired at once, but you have some pills to curb your mania. You have jolts of awareness. You have a way of unstating everything that matters. You have a way of sitting on the floor, falling asleep. You're sad on the train because you remember the way you weep on the train at the beauty that was the feeling that life was coming rather than receding. Now, only the feeling that life is falling away from you, like clumps of hair fall from an unnourished body. Yes, there was the swelling and a way of being more and more in the space until you were the space, while at the same time you could see every little thing that constituted the space in that moment and beyond. Mistakes were exciting. Inroads in the art of unknowing, the rush of not rushing, of just being. How marvelous this appointment to be alive. Let your mistakes be a way of remembering what it takes to be free. In the dream, I discovered the origins of the film. I returned to where I began, in pitch black, at the bottom of the pool. I return to feel life coming. I return to where there's still someone waiting to meet me and be changed, to where the mystery of lost objects is audible. Yes, I live inside the feeling of embarking, and I have finally come to terms with the fact that I will never be the kind of person who can read on airplanes. Accepting this, I let myself daydream of inverted skies. In transit, the world is too large for demands to narrow my attention. My life becomes distinct and spontaneous. I go to the place where I become pure transmission, transforming, sensual, and holy at the bottom of the pool. Good place to end, and maybe are we gonna do a Q&A? Yeah, or
Oh, yeah.
with the whole audience, or
Yeah.
okay.
No, it's fine. No.
He's
Okay.
done, he's done.
You're done.
I did my piece.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Happy to answer any
I
questions.
stand here in case I see people you can't see.
Yes.
I was just curious because earlier when you were speaking across to us, you had mentioned that you kind of found your way to anarchism through
Yeah.
text.
Yeah.
And I was curious what some of those influential texts were for you.
I read anarchist theory very intensely. So I read Emma Goldman, Kropotkin. I read contemporary anarchist theory. So I was talking about how I lived in the back house of the guy who created the Signal app. And we became internet friends through the anarchist live journal community. So we would trade zines. I always say technology should have stopped evolving at live journal. It really was an amazing place to be. This was like before everything was algorithmic. You just got a feed that was in chronological order of just like your friends' diaries, basically. It was really amazing. And you could join these groups. And I guess there's probably something that's the same out there now. I'm like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Live journal is special. Yeah, so yeah, I read anarchist theory. I very much was, I would hate read Marx, even though now I'm like an anarcho-communist, I guess. But I was very much invested in the historical feud between anarchists and communists. Like, oh, the Kronstadt sailors were killed by the Bolsheviks, like, curse you, Lenin. So yeah, I don't know. I would just read anarchist history. Proudhon was another anarchist I would read. But then like later when I read Marxist critique of Proudhon, I was like, yeah, he's right. Like, weak theory. So the thing is, it's funny because I always say, I kind of like communists for the rigor, and I like anarchists for the spirit. Is kind of how I it's like, anarchists, like, they know about the desire to be free, and there's something that I feel is important to stay in touch with. But I've been thinking about anarchism a lot lately because I don't really directly. When I was in undergrad, I organized an anarchist conference. I was in an anarchist reading group. I would present at the Institute for Anarchist Studies. They're like the cerebral anarchists who are doing like anarchist scholarship. I don't know, like I've come back to thinking about critiques of the state form, partially because I've been intensely watching war history documentaries. I watched 17 and a half hours of World War I, a BBC documentary from 1964. And I'm like, nation states are totally mad. Like, what is going on here? But I do feel like there's a genocidal logic latent inside the nation state form. And even though it's not always operant, it still has this potential to be operationalized. So yeah, I've definitely come back to thinking about anarchism sort of through the lens of nuclear politics, because I have intense anxiety about life on planet Earth being annihilated by interstate competition and nuclear war. So yeah, but yeah, so those were the anarchists I read, and yeah, they're very alive, those anarchists.
I have a tag-on question, which is you kind of indicated that you came to the anarchists via Marx at first. How did you come to Marx?
And the thing is, Carceral Capitalism, it makes sense that I wrote that book because I was always very interested in political economy. So I remember when I was skipping class in high school, I went to my friend's econ class because I knew there was a substitute teacher and the sub wouldn't know that I wasn't in the class, and they were doing an econ exam review, and I like knew all of the questions, and I took like AP economics and had the highest grade in the class the whole year and in high school, and I would fight incessantly with my high school econ teacher. I was like, "This is capitalist propaganda." I was like, they're acting like capitalism is natural. It's not natural. It's a system that was forced analysis. And so I don't know. I always had that econ curiosity, and I don't know. It's like the boring side of me because I really enjoy very technical economic, political economy stuff, and I do sometimes even grumble about Marxists not knowing about the economy. Like, oh, like you just read Frederick Jameson, like what you know about political economy. But yeah, so I don't know. I think I got into anarchism because I learned about it through zines, and then I like was just interested in the critiques of Marxism that I was reading in anarchist theory. Yeah. Yes.
How detailed do your dreams usually get?
Well, the thing is, my dreams are very detailed, but they're incredibly boring now. So that like this is like my golden age of my dream life. I think about it sometimes because, you know, almost all the poetry that I write is dream inspired, and I document my dreams and I dream journal. And now all of my dreams are about applying for tenure. It's like the most boring dream life ever. But I also think my dreams, so people go through different stages of their dream life across their lives. So dreams like, you know, have a different flavor or texture at different moments in our lives. And I feel like I almost think that psychoanalysis maybe resolve some kind of inner tension in me in a way that actually the reduction in psychic anguish, I think, makes my dreams more boring. Because certainly when I was living in a state of like anguish, hyper arousal, and like flailing around, I had like a really wild dream life. But now it's really boring. I'll even wake up and I'll be like, is that even worth writing down that one? Another dream of like, oh, like my tenure file is like not, when they're not gonna let me keep my job or whatever. I don't know. So, but the thing is, like, even when I look back to some of these dreams that I had, it's like really incredibly granular, and like it's strange because usually you kind of remember the last part of your dream, but a lot of these dreams have a very long arc. So I was like, whoa! It's just like a matter of maintaining the practice of doing dream recall. I mean, it really is something that gets better with practice for sure.
As someone who's also very interested in writing between theory and poetry and anything in between, I don't know, like what might you share regarding your own path, like through various genres, even though we're very kind of anti-genre here.
I know, I like that.
Very genre queer. But yeah, I guess like I'm curious on a legit, just kind of a practical end, but then also.
What is the practical side?
You tell me. I mean, okay, like, all right, I want to write this, I guess, and then what the fuck do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The thing is, it's like, it is kind of a leap of faith, as the description of the book says. There is something, I think a lot of it is about figuring out a way to trust yourself and then taking that leap. I think it's like this with a lot of things pertaining to writing. A lot of it is dependent on accessing a certain state, whether it's a certain state of mind or a feeling of openness. And sometimes it's openness to the unknown of where you're going with something that you're writing. Yeah, are you coming from being disciplined and trying to be undisciplined, or are you just thinking about just merging genres?
No, yeah, definitely down to undisciplined. I guess, like, who are you bringing like a concept to, or like how does something kind of get like baked and birthed, like once you've been, I think also just like having similar topics that, you know, certain publishers might have a trickier time with, or not speak the same language, you know?
Yeah, exactly. This is a problem that I've come to realize talking to publishers, is they don't know how to engage with hybrid work. Because even publishers, when I became a National Book Award Finalist, all these publishers are like, hey, you got a new book that you're working on? And I will send them like a book project, and they're like, no, hybrid, like essay and poetry, absolutely not. So there is a lot of resistance to that in publishing, but there are certain publishers that are so open to that kind of work. And definitely Nightboat, I never felt like I had to rein it in with them. And the same with Semiotext as well. Even though Semiotext says they don't publish poetry, they didn't ask me to take it out. So I guess it was okay if it could be pitched as an essay collection that just had poetry sprinkled in. I think that things are changing, and I'm really hoping, because to me, I actually started out when I finished undergrad, I was like, I'm going to be a novelist. And when I was living in the Baltimore punk house, I wrote a draft of a novel, and then I just put it away. I never looked at it after I finished the draft. So it was a weird thing where I would just occasionally write in verse on my blog. And then poets are very tribal in a sense, and they like to claim people for the poet tribe. So everyone started identifying me as a poet. I would have never even have occurred to me to even apply to the MFA I dropped out of in poetry, which is what I did. To me, since I never really was disciplined, I was always extremely feral in how I approach things. Even my academic work, I just read really widely. I recommend reading really widely also as a way to just get different inputs inside you. But I don't know, I think trust yourself, trust your intuition. I wouldn't worry too much about the literary marketplace, because there are some publishers that are intensely driven by market logics, and it does have, I think, a detrimental effect on the work that is being produced. So do it how you want to do it. And there are publishers out there that are open to it.
Do what you love and the money will follow.
Yeah, but you'll never make a penny. So, but it's fine.
I mean, the thing is, I've got a $500 advance for the Sunflower book, which was more than most poetry collections get. So, I mean, Yeah, the thing is, it's hard if you want to survive off of writing. It's gotten even worse in recent years, and a part of it is the willingness for people to produce content for nothing or next to nothing has put like downward pressure on compensation for writing and freelance writing, this kind of stuff. So it's gotten really tough to just survive as a writer. There are people who have been able to carve out really like fiercely independent writing lives that I've always admired, like Dodie Bellamy, Chris Kraus, Lisa Robertson. I'm trying to think. Yeah, Dodie was always just like a outsider who was at loggerheads with institutions. Lisa Robertson bought a little cottage in rural France and just like sits in it and writes. So someone told me, I was like telling someone, I love looking at pictures of Lisa Robertson's house and garden on Instagram, and she'll post like pictures of the books she's reading in her bookshelves and stuff. Someone told me, yeah, Lisa Robertson is like a lifestyle influencer. Was there another hand back here?
I think we're wanting need to repairing outside. To the
We'll
media.
repair a minute. Yes, we're moving our reception to that space because the other one is
Continued
in chaos.
conversations.
I guess one of the questions I wanted to ask is about the way that freedom is both figured in the work, but also kind of figured in the structure of the work, right? Like, what is freedom? How do we reach freedom? But it's also like, it's a destination of the work, right? And I'm both the poetic and the polemical work,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean, freedom is such a loaded word. I guess Maggie Nelson wrote the definitive exploration of the topic. I don't know. The thing is, coming from and being trained in African American studies, freedom has a different connotation than it does when we're thinking about like George W. Bush and the War on Terror and freedom. Like, there's so many problems with the term freedom and the way that it signifies American interventionism and the ideology that justifies American interventionism. So I understand that it's a fraught term, but like I said, in different contexts, it means different things. And in African American studies, very much rooted in the history of the movement to abolish slavery. And so, I don't know, like it's not that I feel particularly attached to the word, but maybe it's passé to say that at least something that I value is feeling really free in my soul. And the soul itself is passé. And whatever, postmodernism probably got rid of the soul, or whatever. Foucault has written about this. But I don't know. To me, it feels worth defending, and it's always, and what is it even? In Carceral Capitalism, I talk about the phenomenological experience of freedom, and I discuss these moments that I constellate in the conclusion of Carceral Capitalism. So I juxtapose a moment where political prisoners who were imprisoned under the Pinochet regime in Chile are doing astronomy lessons and contemplating the meaning of freedom while looking at the stars. And I put that alongside a passage from Heather Ann Thompson's History of the Attica Uprising, where there are prisoners who had taken over the Attica facility, and there was an older man who hadn't seen the sky in decades who was contemplating the meaning of freedom, and I thought there were uncanny resonances there because these were prisoners looking at the night sky, thinking about freedom, and these two events happened only a few years apart as well. So yeah, for me, there's also an experiential dimension to freedom as well. I mean, I talk about the Palestinian poet Mahmoud Darwish and the Jewish revolutionary Rosa Luxemburg, and them thinking about the meaning of freedom while being incarcerated. So for me, it's also, you really can't really understand the prison system without thinking about this question of freedom, because prisons fundamentally are a form of unfreedom. So that was kind of how I landed there. So I don't know. I mean, I don't feel particularly invested in staking out some kind of ground to defend the term, but it was the only term that made sense for thinking about these dynamics that I was writing about. So whether it's the political context or the creative context, because there really is, you kind of know when you feel free and there's a sense that something is possible to do or happen. So that's what I mean when I talk about the experience of freedom. And there's a kind of, when you have that, nothing can take it away from you. It's a peculiar thing. You can have nothing and still have that sense of freedom. So yeah, I don't know. It's a powerful thing, I think.
Cool, wanna party?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.